Okay, so I hope you guys had a wonderful spring break. Um, Everything's so different right now that it's hard to distinguish between what's a non-break period and the break period. So, but here we are. So classes are going to start back up again um, this Monday. So I just wanted to make a quick little video and touch upon kind of the dates that we have running here for the next little while, and also kind of give you a little bit of a heads up on what we're going to be seeing in Unit 8. So basically, what we're going to have in Unit 8 is we're going to focus on the home. So the first half of Unit 8 is going to present the vocabulary to talk about different rooms in a house and some of the furniture that you would see in the house. So you're going to get some of that kind of information. Then the next part, they're going to kind of continue along with that domestic theme, and they'll present you with the vocabulary that you'll need to know to talk about chores that are typically done around the house. So that's kind of what we'll be focusing on. You are going to have a couple of pronunciation lessons as well, of course. The first one that you're going to have is the pronunciation of a single S versus a double S, and we've talked about that from time to time in class, so hopefully that won't be, too shocking for you at all. I mean, the premise basically is when you're looking at a single S, is it sitting between two vowel sounds. And so if it's a single S between two vowel sounds, then it's going to sound like a Z. If you have a double S between two vowel sounds, then it's going to just sound like an S. So that's the basics of that rule. We've been talking about the ability to speak of past events or past things. And so we've focused in Unit 7 on the passé composé, how you have the helping verb and you have the past participle. And you have two options of helping verbs, the avoir, which is your default one, and then you have your helping verb that's being used with être, and that one has specific categories in which that will be your helping verb. We're going to shift away from that. We're still going to be talking about being able to speak about the past, but you're going to pick up a tense that's called the imperfect. The imperfect is a single word conjugation. It's not compound like the passé composé, composé meaning composed with the helping verb and the past participle. The imperfect is just going to be one conjugation. They both function to provide different types of information for a narration, for example. So you're going to see that the passé composé is basically talking about the events, okay, what happened. So it's things that have a clear beginning and an end. The imperfect is there to set the scene. It's kind of the background. So the imperfect is in there to maybe describe the weather or to describe what somebody felt like, or so anything where you're going to catch yourself in English thinking in terms of was, were, and then that verb of action, you're kind of putting that ing at the end of it. That is the imperfect. So it was raining, so that would be your imperfect when I left the house. So the action, the event that happened was left the house. That would be your passé composé. So your imperfect is there kind of as decor, embellishment. It's going to provide and set up a scene for you. And then your passé composé comes in to punctuate that, use that background in order to describe a series of events that happened over the course of a period of time. Okay? So that's basically what you're going to look at. So the first thing that we're going to do is learn how to do the imperfect the imperfect conjugation. And that's going to be presented as your first grammar lesson in the A portion of Unit 8. And then the second grammar lesson of the A portion of Unit 8, we are going to be making the distinction between when you use the imperfect and when you use the passé composé. And that will continue on into the second half of Unit 8, so we'll be doing that again. So I'm going to try to put together a little video type thing of an activity that I do with my students that I would have been doing with you if we were still in the classroom. So you can still kind of see that. And then the second grammar lesson that we're going to have in Unit 8, which is the second one of the B portion, is a distinction between savoir and connaître. If you were going to take those and say, well, what would be the equivalent in English? I would say to know for both of them. It's just that savoir and connaître work in different contexts of knowledge. So your savoir is all about intellectual things that you learn how to do, procedural process, how-to type of knowledge, as opposed to connaître being something of, I know that person, he's got a great personality, or, he's very diligent and he's very focused. And so it's a knowledge that comes about by experience, and it has a level of intimacy about it. So you kind of know that person as a being. And so anyway, so you're going to learn about the difference between those two, and they are both irregular conjugations. So you're going to need to make sure that you take the time to get those conjugations figured out. So That's basically what we're going to be covering as far as what's happening inside of the textbook. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up on things that are happening in the calendar as far as assignments are concerned. So just remember that on the 9th, we're going to have another festival that will be coming through. So the 9th is the date by which you should have submitted your or posted your video that you chose. So if you can have those in by the 9th, then that way content will be there for everyone to be able to go back in and look at the different videos that have been shared. And then by the 11th is when you should have posted a reaction to or a comment by the 11th on at least 2 of the videos that have been posted by classmates. The big one here is going to be on the 15th is when you're going to have the Unit 8 quiz. So again, that's going to be happening in the D2L like we've been doing this whole semester long. And then the other thing is the Collaborate Ultra review. So I'd like to do a review with you guys to go over how that quiz went and give you some feedback in preparation for eventually taking all of that into the Unit 8 exam. So the Collaborate Ultra review, I am going to set that up for the 20th. I know that that's putting it off a few days, but I honestly won't be able to have it done immediately after when you're going to have taken the quiz on the 15th. Just remember that your rédaction, your composition for Unit 8, that will be due on the 21st. So you will be submitting it into the corresponding folder in the D2L's assignment tab there. So you're going to go into that and put that right there. So just remember at this point in time, you are going to be typing these up. But when this Unit 8 composition is submitted, it needs to have the rewrite of Unit 5 paragraph, the rewrite of the Unit 6, the rewrite of 7, and then the new Unit 8 composition. So make sure when you're putting those in that you've gone back and looked at all of the feedback and reviews that I gave you for the previous ones, just so that those initial 3 paragraphs should be a quick read for me. I really shouldn't run into any problems, but it's just good repetition for you. And then the Unit 8, of course, will be the new content. Will be fresh for me to have seen. So it will be my first time looking that over. So that's really what we're looking at this point in time. So we will be doing our class again, so I will have something going on Tuesday, and that will happen during what would be our class time, 3:30 to 4:45, and then we'll have that happen again on Thursday. So just be ready to come in on those, and again, ideally, those Collaborate Ultra sessions are going to be recorded so that if you can't get in on our class time, you're still going to be able to see that material and have felt like you were instructed a little bit on all of that. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll have that again on the Tuesday after that. I think on the following Thursday, I'm going to be traveling unless the whole country, the whole airline industry gets shut down and nobody gets to go anywhere. So you got to be flexible and ready to move, right? Anything can happen. So that's what we're looking at. So, don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions. Remember, you're still working on your portfolio project. So make sure that you've looked at that example that's on the homepage of the D2L, so that sometimes when you read all of that text, it kind of becomes a little bit overwhelming and it becomes a big blob of a bunch of information. So to just go in and to be able to see somebody who has actually realized what that project is all about, to see that, it kind of makes it much more simpler, less intimidating. And so you can just go in and kind of use that as your template to be able to put that together. But just remember, there is the small portion in there where you are going to be incorporating what was your pays francophone activity. So make sure you're putting all of that together as well. So don't hesitate to reach out to me, send me an email. The little things while you're working through the VHL assignments, make sure if you run into one that's problematic, you just don't understand why the answer isn't, what you put in there isn't being viewed as correct. And I'll always try to get in there and give you the feedback and answer that as soon as possible. So you guys are awesome. Just hang in there. And again, communication is key. And so I'll just look for anything that you guys send to me. All right. Bonne journée. À la prochaine.